Hey everyone, JVD here from the Villains of Man, bringing you another comic book review over Batman Zero Year Dark City. Now, there's a couple notes to point out when it comes to the issues of the city. If you look at the trade paperback, you're looking at issues 25 through 27. It skips issues 28 and then gives you issues 29 through 33. The Dark City arc is the first three issues it mentioned 25 through 27 and 29. And then 31, 32, and 33 breaks off into the Savage City arc. So for this, I'm going to read these all separately. And mainly due for the fact that I found this really hard to keep up with. It didn't really grab my attention because once you're done with Secret City, the first arc for Zero Year, you get the Riddler, and alongside Mr. Freeze, Riddler is like one of my favorite Batman villains, if you really want to call Mr. Freeze a villain. But and so it really made me really didn't catch my attention reading this because he really doesn't show up until more of the end of the book, even though you're gathering from Batman that he's kind of behind everything. Um, the book kind of centers around a character named Dr. Carl Heffron, or who becomes Doctor Death, and he's created this serum to help basically save people's lives. And what it does is it helps mend the bone and skin damage done on a very rapid molecular level. And when you see him, he's very deformed. If you ever looked at old school cartoons, I guess we could say Warner Brothers since we're talking DC Comics here, or they usually portray hillbilly people with like the big long teeth. This is what he's got, and he's where his bones like Shard from the X Men. If you know anything about the character, not Shard, Marrow. Thank you. Where she's got like the bones that stick out of her. He's got this in a very grotesque and deformed way. The first thing I seen when I first saw him was Killer Croc. When Pamela Isley talks about seeing him, he's got the trench coat on. But just this character itself ties into a lot of stories. A lot of the story. Also, when it comes to the fact that much like in Secret City, when Red Hood Joker and Batman, when you see, they've been doing this since the beginning. This is what's really pushed Batman on. This also kind of ties in with the whole story that Gordon and Batman have been tied in from the beginning, very in depthly, and I'll get on with that as I go on. But this whole Doctor Health and Doctor Death, as you're kind of finding out here in Zero Year, that a lot of Batman's rogues wind up working for Wayne Enterprises at one time. As you've seen from Secret City, Edward Enigma has worked for them, under the books. You do see Pamela Isley in the beginning of this arc, and then here we have this Dr. Heffron who also worked for him as well. But to get on with this, the beginning of the book you see that where this bomb blows up, and you see a helmet with Tokyo Moon. Well, you come to it's in the very beginning of the story. It's very weird because it takes forever for this to play out in the story. And towards the end, when it comes down to Doctor Death and Batman, Batman's trying to get him to realize that he's going to, basically kill thousands, if not millions, and the Riddler's playing him. He tells him, he done this because because of his son, and his son was in the military, and he had him transferred to find Bruce Wayne, who is with these nomads, and that ties you back to the beginning of the story, where you see the bomb blow up, and it was his son. And so you come to find out that, these two characters are tied in more than what they know. And he's believing that, like Bruce Wayne, you need to escape Gotham. You should be alone. And here he is, Bruce Wayne being alone, on his own. So it's pretty interesting how these tie together. During their fight, there's a really cool moment that Batman has him up against the rail as they're on the Riddler's blimp, and Batman is hitting him and breaking bones in spots that he knows his marrow will grow over the rails and hold him in place. So it's really cool. And at the end of this, Batman is trying to prevent Riddler from taking control of Gotham through the power grid. and he winds up blowing the waterfront walls that hold the walls back because the storm Irene's coming through. Basically, it floods Gotham at the end of the story. So it's nice to see, in these early years of Batman, the 0 year, that he is failing a lot as becoming Batman. The part of the story that is good is you get the story that Gordon has been tied to Bruce Wayne since he was a child. And it goes all the way back to the day that his parents were killed. And they tease this throughout the story, and it's really good. And it makes you think at the beginning that Jim Gordon was a dirty cop before he turned good. And it does a really good job of swerving you with that. And you see that since Bruce had fell into the cave, which becomes a Batcave, that it's this whole thing about proving that he can't be, that he doesn't want to be scared. And the day his parents die, that day he skips school and goes watches a movie in like one of the worst parts of Gotham. And they send the police fighting. Well, Jim Gordon and his partner find the kid, and they're taking Bruce Wayne around, and he gets to see these these two cops go from store to store, doing their routine check, as Gordon calls it. And he could see the hope in Batman's eyes until the cop brings Gordon a really good trench coat. So, and then that's when Bruce realizes, you know what, he's corrupt. And then that night, when his parents die, he's the first cop that's there. So, so for his entire life, Batman has always seen Gordon as corrupt. Well, as Batman is trying to stop the Riddler from taking control of Gotham with Dr. Death, the cops have him cornered. Riddler sets him up, and Batman can barely escape him, so he jumps into the river because a storm's coming, hoping that it'll give him some time, and Gordon finds him. He knows he's going to be there. And so Gordon tells him the story of that moment and how afterwards he had found out where his partner was, and he went back to that trench coat shop, and they were doing gambling and illegal dog fighting in the back, and Gordon was going to turn him in, and they unleashed the dogs on him. And so basically he winds up walking away with his life, and they're all threatening him, which Gordon tells Batman, who he does not realize is Bruce Wayne, that, he wore that trench coat to this day to remind them that he'll never forget. So you really get a really interesting backstory on his trench coat and where it come from. And I thought that was really neat because you always see Gordon in that tan trench coat, and now you understand why he wears it and what it means to him, what it symbolizes. It's much like the symbol on Batman's chest, the bat. It's his symbol, to never remind him, never give up and never forget where you come from. So I thought that was really cool. There are some really cool moments in this book. Oh, I'm thinking about it before I just push this on my notes. The whole thing with Dr. Death talking about how Batman, being alone and whatnot. There's an argument between Alfred and Bruce, and Alfred Pennyworth thinks that Bruce Wayne is punishing everybody in Gotham, especially him, by watching him do this to protect Gotham. And Alfred believes this is his way of punishing Alfred, making him watch that, where no one could protect his parents on the night they died, that Bruce Wayne, by himself as Batman, can protect Gotham for everyone. So he's doing it almost to prove a point. Now, there's some really cool moments in this book. As I'd mentioned, you see that Pamela Isley works for Wayne Enterprises, and I think that's really neat. I'm wondering as I get to this next, I should say the last part of 0 year, if you'll see more of his rogues gallery come out. Maybe Mr. Freeze. I just talked about Mr. Freeze being my favorite Batman rogue alongside the Riddler. I'd like to see that. The beginning of the book, the cops are chasing Batman, and it's a big car chase, and it's really cool because you're like, cool, you're going to see like the very first Batmobile, and in Secret Year you got to see where the Batcycle come out of his car, and his car went back together, and it's this roadster, and it looks pretty cool. And then it gets even crazy. They trap him inside of a tunnel, and he's got this, what they call static bond wheels, where basically, I guess he's got his car on shocks, and they launch his car to the top of the tunnel, and the front wheels fold up, and they basically, with static, they cling to the top of the tunnel, and he drives out. So that's a really cool thing. I was really excited with the first part of 0 Year during Secret City to see the gadgets of Batman, and now you're getting to see even more. When he finds out what the Riddler's up to and that the Riddler has this blimp during this storm, Renee, he has his own blimp, and it's even he even makes the joke that it was black. Lucius Fox had built it, which you get to see him earlier. He has found a cure for Doctor Death's disease. But and it's really cool because now he's driving a big blimp around, and Gotham is known for the cops in the blimps looking for crime and watching people, basically following people who's robbed and whatnot. So it's really cool to see that. That caught me off guard. I didn't expect anything like that. The last cool part, when this blimp shows up, they censor it, and basically it says it's the goddamn Batman. I thought that was really cool because that's a thing on there. I'm the goddamn Batman, and goddamn censored. So I thought that was a really cool little moment. But as for the story, the Doctor Death part just did not interest me at all. I thought it was really boring, and it was really hard for me to focus and keep attention on this book. But the story with Gordon, especially when you find the history of the coat, why he wears the coat, where it come from, I thought that was really cool. Because, when I think of Batman and the mythos of Batman, besides Batman, there's three people we always think of. Robin, Alfred, Commissioner Gordon. And now you know where the coat comes from. So I thought that was really neat. And hopefully in this next arc for 0 Year, with the flood and whatnot, hopefully you'll get to see a couple more things like that. I thought that was really neat. But that part with Scott Snyder is awesome. Can't talk about that enough. The rest of the story, it's just kind of boring. So, but I'm curious to see how he writes the Riddler in this next arc. I'm really looking forward to reading it. But this has been my review for Batman 0 Year Dark City. I'm JVD of the Villains of Man. Keep reading, guys.